Okay, so I just start off right away. Hello, this is Steve, and I've pulled some cards, but I'm gonna show you the cards that I pulled, and I'm going to kind of read from the book that I like, which is this book, Angeles Arian Tarot Handbook. I just want to give a shout out to Cole and Colleen Lovecamp. Seriously, that's their name. Cole and Colleen Lovecamp, who introduced me to this um, tarot deck and book maybe 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Um, Prior to them being man and wife, which I think occurred 2.5 years ago, so it must have been 3.5 years. Anyway, thank you very much. Shout out to Cole and Colleen Love Camp. I mean, if that isn't a great name, what is? Anyway, thanks for the cards, and I've put them to good use. You explained a lot to me about them, and it was really helpful in my understanding. So, what we got, and what we got uh, of the energies we've been working with was the Ten of Swords, and the swords are about mental activity. And if they're not, then you can just, send really good vibes to me by saying like, you know, you're wrong. The reality you're making up is different than the reality I'm making up. But let's not be polarized about it. Let's just love one another and help each other understand that the swords are about something else. But we were just talking about war. I was just talking about war. And in the earlier videos, if it's posted, yeah, talking about how wars appear to have been started by religions. And it seems like, the only thing you need to know about religion, and most of them carry this in some fashion, is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And if you just follow that, and you're not just, a serial killer, then that's good. The golden rule, I think it's called. And just do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I think everything will work well for you in your life. And somehow I don't seem to be able to yet. So much for intentions. I don't seem to be able to yet um, overcome my perception that I have ACDC, or is it ACDC? No, that was a band. AD, ADHD, um, HD. Anyway, I have one of those conditions where you can't remember things, or you're too hyper and you jump from one thing to another. And so I may actually have that condition, because it's made up. And if you make up that, if it's an explanation, you could also say, I have such a creative mind that is continually creating, and creation can be a bit messy, you know, even though I straightened up my room yesterday, and not only because I was just working with so much energy, but once I listened to Beatles music for like an hour, like really good songs, um, a little help from my friends was just really, poof, really did it. And I released that energy. And after that, I cleaned out my closet and, the table next to my bed. And yeah, I really cleaned up a lot of stuff. So the outer, so I'd cleaned up a lot of stuff inside, and then I cleaned up a lot of stuff outside. So, for those of you who are still here, and so the card that I picked for the energies we've been working with was the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords symbolizes fear of ruin, not fear of the runes. That's something else. But the fear of ruin, that I gotta lose everything, or it's all going downhill, which means that you've definitely been paying attention to those little sidebars on your YouTube channel. Like, it's not global warming. It's we're coming in on the ice age, and it's global cooling. It's not global warming. It's global cooling, and the entire banking system is gonna crash, and you're gonna all that you worked for is just gonna disappear, and your life's gonna suck, and you just won't be able to go on that vacation you waited your whole life to go on. That trip to Ireland. It's not gonna happen now. Anyway. I mean, if you haven't thought about this, like, oh my God, avocados have doubled in price, and gasoline. Oh my God, thank God I never go anywhere anymore, because I have like a 2004 Honda Odyssey, which is a van. And at that time, it probably was great gas mileage, but it got maybe 20 miles to the gallon, which for a giant vehicle that could carry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, could carry a whole, good portion of a hockey team, at least one line of a hockey team, plus a few extra players, like extra goalie or something. But anyway, it gets 20 miles to the gallon. And when they doubled the price of gas, and I was thinking, like, oh, if I'm trying to get to work in a vehicle to make whatever minimum wage is, this is a nightmare. So minimum wage, maybe in Seattle they made it $15. So basically that would buy you 3 gallons of gas. So if you had to drive very far to get to work, anyway, that's the fear of ruin. You already are living with 7 other people. It's like when one of my daughters, I won't mention her name. She'll never watch this, but if she did and I mentioned her name, she might be very upset. So I'm not going to mention her name. But when she was in college, she roomed. She actually shared a room, and it could have been 4, but I'm going to say 3. Shared a room in an apartment with 2 other people. And there may have been 3 rooms with 3 people, and her room may have been 4th. There may have been 10 young women in an apartment, in a 3-bedroom apartment, at University of California, Santa Barbara. And I think, and this was like years ago. Who knows how many years ago, but like probably, holy crap, probably 16 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. And it was I think it was $1,000 a piece, or that the whole thing was 3,000. Maybe that's accurate. And then they're all splitting their rooms at $1,000 a piece. So the room in this apartment, each room was $1,000. I think that's more accurate. Impeccable was my word. And each of them were splitting that $1,000. So, $333. One had to pay $334 or something. But to have a place they could live and somewhat afford. Yeah. And so that's happening again. I mean, like, people are just all living in one place so they can afford it. And so I could see where people might have some fear of ruin. So Swords being the mind, being mental. This is a state of mental despair or fear held in the mind to such a point that you have made a conscious decision that things are not going to work out in two areas, two arenas of your life, either in an emotional relationship, which is symbolized by the pierced heart, or about finances, which is symbolized by scales at the top of the card, the balance. The astrological aspect of this card is Sun in Gemini. Individuals who have Sun in Gemini, which I don't know what that means. Oh, Sun, if they're born Geminis. They're mentally gifted in synthesizing polarities. Here's something that'll bring you value right now. Synthesizing polarities, oppositions, and paradox. Because they have this ability, they're able to look at all aspects of a situation, the positive aspects as well as the negative aspects. And in their facility to do this, sometimes they're able to see things which produce fear within their nature, and especially in those issues concerning matters of the heart or finances or practical implementation of creative ideas. Now, I don't know about you, but because I've spent 50 years as a quote, half a quote, healer, I tend to feel things physically in the world. So just before, and it wasn't just Lake Michigan unsalted, but just before I read those words, I began to have a pain in my heart. Now, do not worry, because your worry about me puts this energy on me and holds me in this place of your worry. So stop it. As Bob Newhart would say, stop it. Stop worrying about people, because in a way, your emotional intensity and your worry, which is your images of something bad happening to them, just like your worry about finances and relationships and all that stuff, that worry with all that emotion attached and bad pictures about people are not helpful to them. So stop it, for crying out loud, which is something I do on occasion. I think I did at one of my tarot readings, but I don't think I posted that one. No, I did it the last one. I was like, oh, this makes me want to cry. And it did. And I did kind of like sniffled a little bit. And that was just real in that moment. And so right now I'm just feeling this heart pain as I read about individuals who have Sun in Gemini. And I was jealous of some of the Geminis I knew, because they could just do many things well. And as a Capricorn, we could usually only do one thing well. And Geminis could be going back and forth between things. I eventually learned how to do it, and I was able to do that and make use of my ADHD or ACDC or whatever it was. I think the ACDC were musicians, and I've actually watched some of their stuff, and it's kind of crazy stuff. Especially that one guy, I think. It's ACDC. I didn't pay any attention to them when they were popular, but years later they came across through YouTube, and the one guy was wearing shorts. And then I noticed he oftentimes wore shorts, and he was like this guitarist, and he was really would wear caps and stuff, and they were like kind of big time, I think, whatever, heavy metal rockers. But he was pretty goofy. I appreciated him. You might even know his name. I just didn't. I don't. Okay. All right, so I think that's good. Oh, but when you pull this card, it may indicate in the next 10 weeks or the next 10 months, you will want to resolve negative thinking that produces fear of ruin about your relationship with Gemini people, or release fears of ruin surrounding financial situations, or fears of ruin surrounding old fears held in the mind, or old memories that were imprinted about relationships or about finances. Anyway, you might want to let go of your fear of ruin in relationship to relationships. I should give that up now, because I've probably gone into I actually had a latte this morning, like a one-shot latte. But I've been kind of in my detox process. One of the things that I kind of cut out was caffeine. but it just seemed so warm and cozy this morning that I had a latte, and I made it myself, and it was good, and that's enough that needs to be said. I'm not encouraging people, but it does really shoot the brain, shoot the brain right at the head. Whatever. Guess it gets you. I don't need caffeine to get up and going anymore. I'm actually fairly what might be termed hyper or high energy most of the time for at least the past week, as I've kind of come a little bit out of some of my detoxing, which makes me very tired. Okay, so that was the past. That was the 10 of Swords. I'm going to obviously, hopefully, if I don't cut this back down a little bit, it's going to just take me forever to upload it. So the next one is the 6 of Swords, and it has to do with science. So what we're working with in the present is, current. We don't even we're all in the present, to one degree or another. But what we're working with right now is the 6 of Swords, which is the science of mind, the objective mind, or the fair witnessing mind. So this is definitely going to be taking me into another world. And if you keep following me, you're going to go into this world with me. But I think it's a very good world. I'm just going to state that. I think this is a really good world to know about. So you can experience the world as yourself. So experiences as self is like, oh, that made me cry. It doesn't have to be emotional, but that tends to be where I go. It's like, oh, put my hand over my heart and go, oh, that's so sweet. It just makes me feel so warm inside. Whatever. That's self. You're experiencing it from inside yourself. Or that triggered me. I can't believe you said that horrible thing to me, or even just gave me that look that makes me feel so bad. You looked at me in that way. Ugh. And then, that's self. And then there's other, where we actually attempt, I'm trying to figure out if I can put my hand where you still see the hand. It's Ireland, by the way, that you can't see, but it's an old picture of like hills of Ireland. But other would be attempting to, or no, would be, why attempt anything? Would be imagining how another person feels. So maybe someone's been triggered by you, whatever, and they're like launching this verbal energy at you, like, oh, and they're triggered. So it's their unresolved stuff. This would be a good time to be an observer. So an observer is being outside of you and the other, and being in a place of compassion and curiosity. So when you're an observer, and it takes a while, and I might do a little video on how to get into observer mode. I might not during this video, because otherwise this video will be an hour, and I don't know how long it's been so far. But I will do a video on how to get into an observer position, which this card is suggesting. And when you're an observer, you're outside of your own emotions. You're outside of the emotions of the other. You're realizing they're just coming from their wounding. And if you're in compassion and curiosity, you might be able to explore with them what this wound is about and actually help them to release it. And I've taught this many times about the story. So I think the story's here, emotions are here. We're just going to make that up, because you're making up. You got a story. Okay, you got a story. And the story starts to show up when you've been triggered. And triggering is an unresolved event from the past that has emotions. So somebody looks at you in a particular way and you go, I can't believe, and you come up with a story. When I was a child, I had older brothers who used to hit me because they told me that it would help me in the future to be tougher. But it actually just helps you avoid people who are, you know, energetically angry. But anyway, you get a story, you get emotions, you get triggered. Your story comes out, and nobody ever treated me right. Nobody loves me. You don't love me. You never did love me. Blah, whatever it is, and then there's the emotions of that, and then you start to separate them. So you separate them, and these are going to go outside of the screen, but you separate them, you separate them, separate, and now for you, I haven't separated them to the point where they release, but feel this as I do. I'm separating them, and you just go there whenever you feel that separation, releasing the emotion. You still got the story, still got the emotions, but now that they're separated, you turn your hand upside down if you want, and then release the emotions. And then you turn your hand upside down and release the story. And that's what you can do when you get triggered or somebody else gets triggered and their triggering triggers your triggering and your unresolved stuff starts coming up and their unresolved stuff's coming up and you're blaming each other for the feelings that you have that have nothing to do with each other but only have to do with the unresolved events from the past. So if one or the other of you can step outside of your trigger, step outside of yourself, and go into compassion and curiosity, even with yourself, then you can come to the place of understanding what happened and what these emotions are about, and then do that little exercise to release them. Also, you can imagine if you're in a good place within yourself and somebody's triggered and they're telling you about it, you can imagine what it's like for them. And from actually feeling, oh, that's what that feels like. Oh, that's really painful. Oh, I now understand why you're expressing yourself in this way because you're in a lot of pain. Okay, I get that. I've been in a lot of pain. Oh, others are in a lot of pain sometimes. Okay, that's a good thing to help you to know the experience of others. Now, when I do healing work with my clients, I work with a field of relationship that I've established with the client. We're on a phone. People say, how can you know what's going on with other people when you're on the phone with them? Well, when you're on the phone with them, you're connected. And the field of relationship is right there, even if they're, 3,000 miles away. The field of relationship is right there. Once it's established, establishes quickly. Field of relationship is there. And through the field of relationship, the person, you never go into their field at all. You just work with the field of relationship. And that person will release the energy they're working with into the field of relationship, and you'll feel it. You'll feel what they're working with. You'll feel the intensity of it. Small example, dear friend of mine, like I have some of these dear friends, okay? Sometimes I'm not even gonna say anything, but I just have these people that are so dear to me. I have a lot of them that are really dear to me, but this one is particularly dear. And I sent a text message. You want to chat on the phone while I walk down to the water, through the woods to the water? And she wrote back and said, having a headache. I don't really want to be on the phone. I wrote back and said, is it okay if I help release that headache as I walk down, and maybe send some pictures? So I did. Sent some pictures, interesting little pictures as I walked down to the water. And by the time I got down to the water, I got a text, yeah, it's getting better. I said, great. And then I had down to the water for a little while, turned around to walk back up the hill, get a phone call of another person very dear to my heart who's also deaf. So they're dear to my heart, but it's really frustrating because they can't hear a word I say, which actually allows them to just talk a lot, which can be a challenge for some people in a conversation with me to get a chance to talk. So by knowing that he can't hear most of the time what I'm saying, I just tell him, just talk about it. Just let me know what's up in your life. Just go on and on and on about it. Tell the story. Have I told you the story? Yeah, you have. But anyway, observer. That's why I call it observational healing. And I'll actually do a video about how to go into the state of observer. But that's enough stories for the moment. And for some reason, he could hear me yesterday. I mean, sometimes the deaf can see or hear or feel. Okay. So the Six of Swords is science of the mind, the objective mind, or the fair witnessing mind, or the observing mind. This is very focused, intentional mind, represented by the 6 cards coming to the center of the Rosicrucian cross, which is a miniature representation of the cross that is on the back of all these tarot cards, which would be that cross, which I think might be referred to as the Celtic cross. And this is the card I oftentimes do for readings when I'm doing a family reading. So the top, the yellow, is typically my wife. The bottom, and it looks like it's blue. The bottom is me. The right side is my stepdaughter. The left side is her choreographic partner. And the center is the card I pull for what we're all working with together. So the individual cards are what we're working with ourselves, and then the center card is what we're working with together. And I may do some sort of readings using that Celtic cross. But in this one, it's talking about, they call it the Rosicrucian cross, which is, So this symbol is the rational, objective, fair witnessing mind. It's the mind that considers the whole, which is represented by the circular crystalline shape. Kind of an interesting card. They're all interesting cards. As well as the mind that's creative, which is represented by the diamond that surrounds the crystalline shape. The creative mind is represented by the diamond. The holistic mind is symbolized by the circle, and the focused, intentional mind is represented by the 6 swords coming to the center of the Rosicrucian cross. Cross itself is a universal symbol of integration, synthesis, and blessing. So right now we're all synthesizing a lot of information. We're integrating a lot of information, a lot of processing of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stuff, synthesizing it. And when we can, we're being a blessing to the world. This video is going to take quite a while to upload. Going on and on and on. I wonder if I can break it into 3 parts or something. Okay. So the 6 of Swords represents the integrative mind that recognizes sources of inspiration that are sometimes unexplainable. Okay, I think that's enough. That's what we're working with right now. We're just working with synthesizing integration. And what is going to come for us in the future is the Queen of Discs. And the Queen of Discs is that card. And the Queen of Discs is the mastery of diet and nutrition. So what we're all moving towards, with a globe in her hand, the Queen of Discs builds new worlds through diet and nutrition. She wears a reptilian gown as a symbol of regenerating her body through diet and nutrition. She sits on top of a huge pineapple as a reminder of her commitment to build new worlds that are more fruitful and less bleak and barren than the deserts of the past, with genetically modified foods that are sprayed with glyphosate, whatever, however you say it. Glyphosate, I think it is. To kill bugs, to cause insects' stomachs to explode. And then they spray this on the food for people. As the fear of ruined energy. Oh my God, they're poisoning us. Oh. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not true. Anyway, but we're going to just try to maybe support the local farmers. As long as they're spending twice as much money for the food, for the crap food you can get in the supermarket. Some of it you can eat, but a lot of it's just crap food made out of genetically modified things with I'm not going to say Roundup, I'm going to say glyphosate, but possibly in the food. I've been having digestive difficulties for the past 8 months, but I blame that on the detox, and because I avoid these genetically modified glyphosate injected foods to the best of my ability. Can't always do it, especially if you're eating at the Mexican food truck. You're quite possibly getting corn tortillas with glyphosate sprayed on them or genetically modified into the corn. I know. I'm just letting go of my paranoia. Okay. To build new worlds that are more fruitful and less bleak and barren than the deserts of the past. With her crystal wand, she sees with clarity what she needs nutritionally in areas of health, finances, work, and relationships, like Capricorn, the goat, and Aries, the ram. Her crown, the Queen of Discs, pioneers stable diets for herself in all arenas of her life. Have I recommended celery juice on an empty stomach in the morning to reestablish the function of your digestive system? If not, that'll be my advertisement for the day. It doesn't have celery juice in it currently, but it did. And now it has alkaline water, which alkaline water helps to de-acidify the body, helps to remove whatever those things are. Well, obviously it doesn't help in brain function. That's mushrooms. So there's certain mushrooms like, I haven't been taking them lately, so that's why I can't remember which ones, but lion's mane and a bunch of other ones that are really helpful for neurological and brain function. So I'm also going to go upstairs and take my mushrooms now that I remember to take the mushrooms that help me remember. So that's way more than enough, I'm sure, for all of you. But for some of you who actually have a little bit of time and are interested in finding ways to make change easier for yourself, I hope that this video does that. And make sure that you like and subscribe so that someday I can offer, the sale, not personally sell them, but get advertisement from the nutritional companies who are selling like good mushroom blends for everybody can use them, because everybody can use some help with their nerve systems right now. So there's blends of mushrooms, have like 5 different mushrooms that are good for neurological help and for memory loss or gain, whichever way you want to go. So we're moving into the Queen of Discs times, the mastery or mystery of diet and nutrition. And I read it to you. I read the entire, it was only like 1 paragraph. So you got the whole bit of information plus a lot of added side notes. So that's just me. We're all changing. We're all looking to have change be easier. I've been I've enjoyed the heck out of myself this morning. Hopefully, some of you will enjoy this morning. I find myself the best person to make myself laugh. And so I do that frequently when I make these videos. And it's basically making these videos is helping me to rise to that vibration that I choose to live in as much of the time as I can. And so may you all have your dreams manifest, and may I end up. Oh God, I can tell I'm gonna have to make this video again because there's just no way that it was as long as it appears to be. Oh no, that's how many micrograms I've used or kilograms or whatever. But the time is only actually 36 minutes, which is actually kind of a shorter video. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. Now let's go have a day you've dreamt of in kind of good ways. All right. Um, Later, Gator. After a while, Crocodile. Uh, See you in the next life. That's a lost quote. See you in the next life.